Welcome everyone to our next video series in which we are going to talk about Microsoft Azure Groups. So, in the previous video, we saw the lab related to user creation where we created two types of users. One is cloud identity, or we can say registered as a member, and then we also created a guest user registered as a user registered as a guest. And the directory synchronized identities is something that we will be seeing in the topic related to Entra Connect, where we can see the on-premises synchronization mentioned as yes for the list of the users which are directory synchronized. Now we'll be discussing about groups. Now, when we talk about groups, Entra ID groups are used for users and permissions. So you can create different types of group in your organization, like developers group, HR group, admin group, right? So all these users are added. So for example, we have 5 users and we want to group them into one, maybe an HR group or an admin group, right? So Microsoft Entra groups are used to manage these users and assign permissions to the users which are placed within the groups. The most common type of group is the security group that we create. And then we have Microsoft 365 group. Security group are used to give permissions. You can have shared access to different members or computer access within the users of the group, right? For example, you create a security group to set the permissions over the group all at once, and we, rather than adding permissions individually to each user, we add the permissions at the group level. So here, whenever you add those permission for those permission related activities when you want to do, we create security group. Microsoft 365 group is created mostly for collaborative purposes. For example, you want to provide collaboration opportunities to different members. Maybe 5 members are there and they all need access to a mailbox, or maybe a calendar, or maybe some files, right? SharePoint. So when you want to give people access to certain things like on a shared mailbox, calendar, file, SharePoint, in those cases you can create Microsoft 365 group. This option can also help you to give permission to the people who are outside the organization, right? So this is available to all the users as well as admins which are there. Now, when we come to the assignment type is assigned, dynamic, and dynamic user and dynamic device. So, assign means you pick who is the owner and who is the member of the group. In dynamic user or dynamic device, in dynamic user specifically, we create a rule. And if that rule or condition is sufficed, user is automatically added to that particular group. So you can dynamically add or remove members. If the member attribute changes, so your system will look at the dynamic group rules, and then the member, if he meets the requirement, is added, or if it no longer meets, it is removed. So for example, what can be the attributes? For example, if location is East US, or maybe if the department is test, so on anyone any user who possesses these attributes, they will be automatically added. Now you remember when we were creating a user, we were adding additional properties related to the user every time. So whenever you are creating a user, whenever you are giving additional informations, those are used in creation of dynamic user. Then we have dynamic devices. Dynamic devices are only when in the group type, only security groups can be created. So with this, you, with the dynamic group rule, you can add or remove devices, right? So if the device attribute will change, they will be automatically added or removed as per the attributes that they possess. Then we have the device registration. So in device registration, Microsoft tells you that you can bring your own device or the mobile device and get connected to Microsoft Entra, right? Microsoft Entra registered devices are signed in using local accounts like Microsoft account or Windows 10 device, but additionally have an Entra account. So if I look into my system, into my system, and here you can see in the account section I have add work or school account. If I click on connect, I have to sign in here to my Microsoft Entra account, whatever email address I sign up to. Then it will ask whether I belong to a specific organization, and then it will be added to the Microsoft Entra ID. So in this way you can manage device registration for Microsoft Entra. Now, another very important point is administrators can secure and further control these Entra registered devices using MDM tools like Microsoft Intune. So let's go on to Microsoft Intune Admin Center. Signed in with the same account which I have on Azure portal, and here you can see if I click on devices, I have the option to add different devices and manage those devices. If I want to add a Windows devices, all the list of the devices which are added will be shown here. So you can manage your devices, whether it is a Windows device, iOS device, Mac OS, Android, or Linux device with the help of Microsoft Intune Admin Center. The next concept is about automatic user creation. Very good diagrammatic flow which shows how the automatic creation of the employee record is done with the help of an HR. So here, for example, some HR is there who added a entry of a user, for example, Anil. Okay. Now this user will have some attributes like it will have a name, it will have an employee ID, it will have a department, it will have a manager details, right? Reporting manager details. So all of these details are fed by the HR into the cloud HR system, which is also known as SCM tools. So SCM is nothing but human capital management tool. So when HR does this activity, the Microsoft Entra provisioning service is responsible, which is the middle component, which reads the data, employee data, and updates it within the user details. So a user is automatically created. You can say this is a synchronization agent which synchronizes all the data from this SCM tools. Now, once this activity is done by Microsoft Entra provisioning service, the user is automatically created in the Microsoft Entra. So, user gets a corporate login ID, the email, the Teams access, the app permissions, all of these things you can manage from Microsoft Entra ID then and thereafter. Now, in the cases when we are working with on-premises system, what happens? There are certain companies who are still working on the on-premises directory solution or Active Directory. So in those cases, when they use on-premises SCM application, it gets synchronized to their Active Directory, right? And the Active Directory in turn synchronizes the data with Microsoft Entra provisioning service, and then and thereafter a user ID is created in Microsoft Entra ID. So the main idea is this provisioning service keeps all the systems synchronized. So if for example I change the department of Anil, so Entra will also get updated because regular synchronization by a Microsoft Entra provisioning service is there over the SCM application. Right. So this SCM app is the source of the employee data here, and Entra provisioning app is the synchronization engine which creates a identity in the cloud identity system, which is Microsoft Entra ID. You can also remove the users when the employee leaves. So you can do provisioning and deprovisioning both, right? So now here you can see that if you want to connect your cloud HR application, which can be your different devices like your Workday, these are the prerequisites that you must have Entra Connect, application administrator role, hybrid identity administrator role to connect the provisioning agent. And here are certain tutorials to configure the user provisioning with Workday, provisioning with SAP SuccessFactor, and what is user provisioning in Microsoft Entra ID. If we open this document here, You can see there is a YouTube video which tells about how the user is created and how to deploy user provisioning within Entra. For that also we have the dedicated video. Now, if we want to see how we can add SAP success factor to active directory user provisioning, there is a step by step tutorial how you have to go within the application itself and how you have to connect it. So here is the step by step. You have to go to the login to the SAP success factor. You have to go to the manage permission section. Here there you have to create the permission role list, and then thereafter we have the admin center. You grant the permission to the role to the permission group and configure the user provisioning from SuccessFactor to Active Directory. Similarly, the same steps can be followed in the Workday as well, that you need to sign in the Workday and create the integration system user task, and how we can create different security groups and add it to Microsoft Entra. You have that option that you can connect from on premises as well. So you can install the Microsoft Entra provisioning agent, which is uh, done for on premises environment. So there we have seen in the diagram in that on premises SCM tool or cloud SCM tool, we have seen Workday or SAP success factor can be integrated to Microsoft Entra ID using Microsoft Entra provisioning service. And when you connect on premises, you can connect on premises SCM tool to again Microsoft Entra provisioning service. In case you are connecting to Microsoft Entra admin center, here you have to have at least a hybrid identity administrator role, use Entra Connect for the same, and how we can install this Microsoft Entra provisioning agent package within the on-premises system and connect it to Microsoft Entra ID, and then configure the different service account and connect to the Active Directory. So in this way, you can connect in both the scenarios, either from on-premises or with the different HCM tools which are there, like Workday or SAP SuccessFactor. In the Azure description, we were seeing about group creation. Now we will be seeing about the Entra service group creation. So if you go to Microsoft Entra ID, and go to groups here. So here you can see in the group section, I don't have any groups created. So I will create a new group from scratch. You can define which type of the group you want to create, either security group. Let me expand the size of the screen a bit. So I can select either security group or Microsoft 365 group. I'm selecting security group as of now, and I can give the name as HR group. List of the HRs, I'm adding it within this HR group, and I'm giving the description that this is the HR team of XYZ organization. And here by default it is selected membership type as assigned. Now you must have the question, why not dynamic? So for dynamic you need premium licenses to avail that capability, but I will show you how to add a dynamic user also. So here we have selected assigned membership, and you can select an owner from the list of the users that you have created. I'm selecting owner as Alfred, and I'm adding members as few members that I have created. One is Alice, and then I can add John, I can add Neha, and select these three and create this group. So now you can see this group has been successfully created, but it is not reflected here. So you just need to refresh your page. And now I can see the cloud group is one. So I will click on all group section. I can see list of all the groups which are created. So and the object ID corresponding to that, the group type is security. If you had created Microsoft 365 group, the group type will be Microsoft 365 and the membership type as assigned. Now I can go within this HR group, and if I expand the option, then I have the option of properties, that I can add different properties like change the name of the group, change the group description, and so on, and save it later on. I have the option that I can add more members to this group. I can add members or select from the list of the users, groups, or devices and enterprise application that I have. I'm selecting Harry, and I can now see it is added. And if I refresh this page, now I have four group members. You can see all the members which are there. Just refresh this, and there are four members added. I can also check the owner. Who is the owner? So here you can see I have this owner, and you, if you want, you can manage the different types of views. You can remove this owner from the account or add more owners to the account. In roles and administrators, I can see there is no role which has been assigned. So I can assign permissions. I selecting a role. So I will select user administrator, select this role. So add assignment. So all of these four users are now user administrator. This is how we created the HR group here. You can download this group, and also all the deleted groups will appear in the deleted groups section. There are few more properties which are related to Entra users. We'll be exploring that. So here we have the user section. So in the users, we saw the user creation. Now we will be exploring different options like bulk operation. So you have the option of bulk create, bulk invite, and bulk delete. So what is bulk create? So bulk create is you can download this CSV format. See, individually you are creating one user, two user, right? So if you want to create hundreds of users at the same time, in that case you can populate this CSV file where the important parameters are the name, the username, the initial password, and the block sign in or not, and then the rest of the optional parameters or attributes which you can add to the user. When you add such 100 entries, you have the option to go back to the Azure account, and in the Azure account, you can upload that same CSV file. All those 100 entries will be entered at once. Similarly, you can do bulk invite or you can do bulk delete operation. Apart from that, you have the option that for individual users, you can set up the per-user MFA, or you can configure the MFA for all the users. So we'll go to the per-user MFA. MFA is nothing but multi-factor authentication. So you can use multi-factor authentication to protect your users and data. Our recommended approach is that you enforce the MFA as the adaptive conditional access policy. So in conditional access policy, what happens if that particular, let's explain that. So if a particular condition is fulfilled, then the user is allowed access, or he is allowed access after completing the multi-factor authentication, or he is blocked the access. So in what conditions, what are the conditions generally that we take into consideration? For example, the user is tagged to an headquarter location of Delhi. So we set a condition if the location is someone else, maybe if he is trying to log in from an undetected device, or he is trying to sign in from a malicious IP address or some other location. So in those cases, we can define what is the action, or the, if that condition is fulfilled, what is the action to take, whether we want to allow access to that user, or we want to allow the access only after he completes the multi-factor authentication, or he is blocked access because he is trying to sign in from a uh, malicious IP address or unidentified device, and so on. So multiple conditions you can set up. So based on that, you can set up multi-factor authentication for the list of the users which are there. So you can see the status as of now. It is disabled for all the users except one. We have enabled it for Harry. So you can select the user, and you can set the property. You can define what is the activity that you want to do. You want to enable the MFA. So you can just select enable MFA. Now the user will be popped up to complete the multi-factor authentication. Only after completing the MFA he can sign in, and using that multi-factor authentication, every time that he signs in he will get a phone, OTP codes, etc., whatever method of MFA he has selected. You can do certain settings related to MFA here. So here are the service setting options. Like here you can see allow users to create app password or do not allow users to create app password. You can skip MFA for requests from federated users, or even set the IP address range of the IP address which can be skipped for MFA. You can allow users to remember the MFA on devices they trust for the number of days that you want. So all these user settings can be done related to the multi-factor authentication. Now, whatever users that I have, for example, I'm selecting one of the user as Neha and Sneha. So these are the two set of the users which I'm deleting. So the moment I delete these users, I can refresh the whole page and see the updated list of the users as 8, and in the deleted users section I can see that Sneha and Neha are mentioned. If I want, I can permanently delete these users and they can no longer be retrieved in the account, which I've already told you in the previous video. You just have to refresh this page and they are no longer existent in our account. You have the password reset option. Let us understand what is self-service password reset. In self-service password reset, the user can reset their own password. You can enable capabilities for them. Also remember, you need premium trial for this feature. So for that, for example, this is used to reduce the cost, improve user experience, lower the help desk volume, and enable mobility. So you can go for a free trial premium subscription. So you can go ahead and within the free trial you have the option that you can activate Microsoft Entra P2 licenses or even Microsoft Entra governance license once for 30 days. So this includes 100 licenses which will be active for 30 days. After that you can see the SSPR capability. Setting up Microsoft SSPR, you have to go in the Azure portal, and in the SSPR you will select that option, and then thereafter you have this uh, dashboard being shown where you have the option of properties. So the first thing is you can select for which set of users. So you have the option of none, selected, and all. So the first option is either you want to set up SSPR, this capability of resetting their own password you want to enable for all the users, or none of the users, or a specific set of the users which you want to set the SSPR for. That option you have to select it here. Thereafter, we have to select authentication method. So this screen will pop up where they ask you that how many number of authentication methods they require, one or two. So in this you can set up to 6 authentication methods, like you can set up email, mobile phone, office phones, security questions that they can complete, and the registrations. Okay, so once they have completed the registration, they can go for a password reset. You can see there is a SSPR lab where you create the groups and create a user account, register them for SSPR, and select which email ID they want to use, and they can get back or reset their password by selecting the user ID and completing the captcha. So this is how we set up the SSPR for individual users. So see you in the next video with more information related to the concepts. Keep sharing and keep like, share and subscribe to my YouTube video so that we can give you more training content related to Azure.